All right, here we go. Well, today is a very, very special day, and we have a special guest, our managing director uh, in the United States, and a very special part of Arbonne. And I just want you to know, Stian, what you have added to our company and how you've made a huge difference. And having known you from when you were a student, a university student, and in California, and knowing your family, I just want you to know what a privilege it is to have you as one of our leaders and in that home office, making a difference for us in everything that you do. We are so grateful for you and for all that happens there and all the hard work that goes on and that amazing, amazing GTC. I mean, this is 28 years for me. My first one was in September of 1987. I just launched my business. I actually went before I launched it, but I did take people with me, so I guess I had launched it in a way. But anyway, everybody, if you all want to sing, today is Petter's birthday. Petter Mørk, our founder, and we all love him so much. I am going to share screen and hopefully, first let me open up, see how I do that. I'm going to open up the PowerPoint with some pictures that we're going to share with you. But I just have a few questions, and Stian felt like he would enjoy that kind of format for tonight, where he shares and answers questions, and be thinking if there's something that you want to ask. I don't know, how much time we'll have to do that, but it would be wonderful if you do have one. He's so accommodating. I know that he would answer it later anyway. So I'm looking for my PowerPoint. I'm going to open it up and then share my screen. And I guess I have to keep it opened up. Let me put it onto my external screen and see if it lets me do that. We love all the technology, don't we? And every week we learn something new. It's so exciting. What a different world, huh, Stian?
Absolutely. You have to stay on your toes all the time.
All the time.
New changes all the time.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and we'll be a little over at the side, but I don't see it. Okay.
I see it, Phoebe.
Oh, you see it. Okay, so I put it on an external screen, and then let's see. We want to do slideshow and play from start. And so we are so excited to have Stian Mørk, the oldest child, oldest son of our founder, Jan Petter Mørk. And so today is your father's 77th birthday. And the first question that a lot of people want to know is, what was it like to have Petter as your father?
That's a great question. It's a funny one. I laugh because he was a great dad. One thing was him being a father. The other thing was when I worked with him, both great experiences. But he was a really good father, and he was interested in us, in the kids. He traveled quite a bit and worked a lot, but when he could, he was around. He would read to us. He took an interest in the things that we did. I remember he was, how good he was with my friends, and we would play tennis, and the friends would come afterwards, and he was always, nice and friendly, and always just a really good dad, I think.
Do you think it's helped you be a father to have had him?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we learn from our parents, and I think, you know, for him, the family was the most important. And so I think, you know, he showed us where priorities were. I mean, he was very busy, and Arbonne was hugely important to him, but he always found time to be with his family and his kids and his mom, you know, my mom and his friends as well. He was really good at that.
Awesome. What would you say is one of your most memorable experiences with your dad?
Oh, that's such a good, there's so many of those, Phoebe.
I bet.
Yeah, there's so many. You know, in fact, it was actually just hard to think about one. But I have to say, you know, so in general, he was so, whenever you were with him and when he was in his element, and that was really when he could bring people together and make things happen. There's so many good, I have so many good memories from that, just from Arbonne, but also from like private, you know, privately. But I think that my favorite time, and this maybe I would have answered this differently, but now that he's gone and it's his birthday and I'm thinking about it, there was a time many years ago, I was maybe in high school or something like that, and I had some time, and my dad and I, we spent 2 or 3 weeks together on the island in Norway together, just being up early in the morning and actually went to bed early. He wanted to be a fisherman, so we had to, you know, meet this fishing quota. So together for like this period of time, really great experience to see him kind of in this new element, and how he, you know, just what he did and how he just kind of how he adjusted to the situation, to the environment, and it was great. So those 2-3 weeks of really good private, personal, quiet time with my dad was really special.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about Petter. What did he do before Arbonne? What was his background? What?
Yeah, so he was, you know, he was, you know, when he had me and married my mom, he had to, I think, really figure out how to make a living and work. And he was an entrepreneur always. He started many different businesses, was also employed at, you know, different points in time. But he was really an entrepreneur, and he always looked to do something new and different. And he was involved with direct sales and also with personal care, skincare in Europe a long time ago, back in the 60s. And so he was sort of, you know, he was an entrepreneur and a businessman, and figured that it's got to be something better than this. I got to be able to do something more than I've been doing. And I think that's how Arbonne came to be.
And I think he saw what was happening in the industry and how people were, I remember him saying that people were more concerned about the bottom line instead of what they were putting in their products. And they were moving further and further away from having something that really worked, that was beneficial and that was safe. And he was very passionate about that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he knew. I mean, he did represented a skincare company, and he knew how that company, and you know, he knew the industry. It was a small industry, and he knew what products were made of and how products were being tested, and he knew kind of the background, the things that people don't see. And I think that he saw that there was going to be something very different was going to happen, and he saw that very early on, and that's, you know, so Arbonne was founded on this idea that that he could make a better product, a more responsible product, you know, better quality product, something that would, you know, and then that's the birth of Arbonne. And you know, we launched in 1980 with, I think, 18 or 19 products, you know, a very small line of skincare products, and the rest is history, and grew from there.
Yeah. I think in that experience too, he gained a great appreciation for women. I'm sure he appreciated the men he worked with too, but I just remember him saying, you know, that women did 3/4 of the work of the world for 1/4 of the pay, and that they were the greatest untapped resource in the world. And now you can read articles about that, about how you want to be in a company that has a product that women want, and not only that, to be a part of one that women are a part of. And I think all the smart men that are in Arbonne recognize that. Well, here's a little slide, because we could all sing "Happy Birthday, Dear Petter," because we all have such a love for him. The picture on the left is actually the one when I first met Petter. And then on his 49th birthday, that was my car presentation. And I was the first person to have a car presentation. I just thought, this is an amazing, incredible company that actually has, gives a Mercedes. We need to let people know. And you can see, the photographer wasn't good, the cameras weren't good, but we had a cake for him. And because he always, when he traveled, I knew this, I don't know why, because I only met him, at that event, the first MTS, which was like a small GTC. But he would carry like a lunch that your mom had made, and with this hearty grain and breads, and he was very particular about eating healthy and not processed foods. And so we had everybody make a cake from scratch, couldn't be from a box, for him. And we surprised him with a cake at my car presentation. And he came. I just called and said, "Would you come?" And he did. And that's the kind of leader he was. He thought it was a great idea. He embraced it. He came, and we had an opportunity meeting that was very successful.
That's amazing, Phoebe. I didn't know that you had the first car party.
Yeah, no one had one. He did go, he flew to Wisconsin and gave, and congratulated Donna and gave her keys, but it was just her and her little family. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to capitalize on this. This is a great advertising moment. Yeah. But you can see his darker hair in the corner. You can't see very much, but he was 49. And it happened to be on his birthday. And probably, so 28 years ago today, he presented me with the keys to my car. And it was a very special night.
Wow.
So what do you think triggered this dream of Arbonne for your father?
I think he grew up in little tiny Norway, and for those of you that know, Norway back in the day was very small, and then he was sort of put out into the world and traveled the world, and I think he saw the good and the bad. He saw the possibilities, so he had his mind, his perspective became very broad, and I think he wanted to do something that was going to be significant. I think he wanted to build something strong and solid, something that was significant, something that was going to be important for other people, something that was going to be a legacy for other people, the vehicle for a legacy. So I think he just wanted to do something that was like really kind of different and outrageous, and that's what he did.
He did. When you think of what he accomplished, didn't he leave at 14 and join the Navy, the Norwegian Navy?
Not the Navy, but the Merchant Marine. So
Merchant Marine.
But sort of the same thing. It wasn't a military thing, but he was a sailor for 5 years, from the age of 14, I think, and traveled all over the world. And this was in the 50s, and from sort of pretty humble background in Norway, to seeing New York City, and every harbor, Asia, Australia, South America, all over Europe, Middle East. He saw it all, and I think it was really strong years for him. And I think he sort of something gave him a sense of purpose, that he could make a difference, that one person could make a difference. And he had some excellent, wonderful mentors along the way. That I think was very important as well. People that he met along the way that, that made sure that he did the right thing.
Well, that's awesome, because I think that's a lot of the things you're saying. I hope you're all picking up on these wonderful tips and Petter's teaching us right now through Sion, because we all need mentors. No matter how successful you are, you still need a mentor. And it makes a huge difference. And the other memory I have is Petter telling me about during the war, when he was a little boy and his mother, there was nothing to eat and hadn't been anything to eat because of the war. And she actually took the wallpaper off of the wall and boiled it because of the paste that had been used that would have like a broth type of soup for them. And so I just remember that. It was such an amazing thing to think of, that he had been through that. He was a child during World War II and saw the devastation of it. And so I think it gave him another perspective of having that mission. I don't know, that just popped into my head.
No, I think I've heard that story too, Phoebe. I mean,
amazing.
And also he was the youngest of 3 children, and his mom raised the 3 children during the war and after the war, and it was tough times. And I think he saw how she struggled and how she was being strong and how she had 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. And I think that gave him sort of an appreciation for women and respect for women that maybe not everyone sees. But he was a pretty special guy, and he was a kind of he knew people, and I think he could see deep into people, and I think he figured out things along the way.
He was very perceptive, and he had a spiritual sense about him to be able to tell things about you and about the people he met. And he would be sensitive, and he was always so giving, and especially the moms that might be struggling to put food on the table. He was so aware. And I think for the single moms in Arbonne and those that join, that are looking for something, this is a dream come true for Petter. And now I have a better perspective with you sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's see.
This great pictures, Phoebe.
If I were to share one, I'm like you, I couldn't find a single memory that would be my very most favorite, because there are so many. He taught me so much. I always said my life has been greatly enriched if I never made $1 in Arbonne, because I knew Petter Mørk, because he truly touched my life and taught me things that I will always have with me. And do you want to tell about this?
Sure. This is pretty special. This is these 3 pictures. So my dad there with a dog, and I think it's my mom there. These are pictures from the island in Norway back in 1991 when Arbonne had a trip there. And we traveled around Norway, and this is sort of it still looks like this. In fact, that table in the background is still there. The dock is a little different now, but
I remember Arno.
Arno, yeah, there he is. So it's funny because we are going to be back this very place in about 5 or 6 weeks, almost 25 years to the day from when we were there back in 91, Phoebe.
Wow, it was a wonderful trip, and I love this picture of him on the shore waving and so excited as the boat came in, and standing waiting for us with Arno, and then your mom ready to greet us. And I don't know if that is Bjorn or just someone helping, but he's directing the the people. We came over on like a ferry, I guess it was, and it was such a memorable experience. And your family was so dedicated. I mean, all the work that went into that trip, and I know that this one, oh, all of the MVPs, those of you that are going, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a life changer for you, honestly, and a business changer. For me, I'd stalled out at about 170,000. And at that time, you had to do 192 to be a national vice president. You had to do it 2 months in a row. And after that trip, I came home and I did it in about 4 months. So anyway, but your family is so supportive, and your mom really has done so much and always been, just right there, encouraging Petter and encouraging us. So how did your father engage your family in his dream of Arbonne?
So, he always talked about Arbonne, and if there was something that really he loved or appreciated or he was passionate about, he would talk about it. He would engage us, and he loved Arbonne, and so he would always talk about it. We talked about it around the dinner table, around the breakfast table. We talked about it, wherever. So it was, Arbonne became sort of part of our lives. And my mom was very important. I thought about this, that if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would be here.
I agree.
Because of that drive. They would have conversations, and she's told me stories about what they talked about, and some very foundational, basic things that happened in the early days. She was an important part of that. But basically, it was just part of everything we did. We would go on trips. We would go to to events. I was in college in California, Phoebe, and he would send me newsletters, and kept me sort of in the loop, always dripping on me all the time. And that's how
what year did your family actually, Inger Johanna agreed to come to the US for 5 years, right?
Yeah, in 1984. So Arbonne was founded in 1980 in Utah, and in 1984 they moved. My dad moved the company to California, because he realized he didn't have to be here full time. And then the family came over. My mom said, "Okay, Petter, you'll have 5 years. 5 years is what the time I'll give you before I go back to my family and go back to friends back in Norway." In those 5 years, that's when you joined, Phoebe. That's when Donna joined. Yeah. That's when Arbonne really sort of was born, I think, in that 5 year period. And of course, when you move, it's wonderful stories, but when you move the whole family and a dog and a container of things, and you settle in a new country, it's pretty serious family business too. So yeah, the family was always involved, and it, still is. My mom was a GTC. She loves it. She loves being part of it all. Still, she sees all of the now almost 40 years that she sees that continuity, and she also sees where it's going to go. So it's very nice.
Yes, and it was wonderful to see her on the screen. I never got to see her in person, but she, I think, that should give everyone a sense of just how much your family sacrificed. That actually gave me chills when you were talking, just realizing what that would be, with 4 children of course, you were in California, I guess, by then, but to move everybody over and to give that 5 years. And she was faithful to her word. So let's see. Let me change and see what we have next. Oh, one thing that I loved at your home in Oslo and your home on the island, I can't quite say the name of the island, but on the island, was all the art and the the antiques and the appreciation for history and the appreciation for culture. And, you know, why don't you tell everyone about, I don't know if you can tell on the left, that was the welcome to your home in Oslo with the welcome drink and,
Yeah.
the costumes. Do you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, sure. So I think this picture with my dad and my mom in that Norwegian costume together with Rita Davenport, I think that was one of the first nights in Oslo.
It
in
was.
a hotel. And those costumes is traditional, national costumes. My mom has a couple, and you may have seen her at GTC wearing them, beautifully hand embroidered, and every little valley in Norway and every part of Norway, they have their own little different sort of looks and feels and colors and things like that to these costumes. And then the other picture there, the yellow house, that is the house where I grew up, the home in Oslo, and my brother lives there now, and my mom has another place in Oslo, but that's my brother's house right now.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I always find that people who appreciate art, who appreciate history, who appreciate antiques, and who have that affinity for preserving culture do really well in Arbonne and have an affinity for us. And I think it's because it's part of what Petter created and the culture that he started for us. And here's another picture that you can tell them about. And this was on the island.
So this is also from the island. And this is where we'll be in 5 weeks. I think this is where we're planting some oak nuts. A tree. Is it Steve? I think we planted some oak nuts that my dad, he rode over and he found a couple of nuts, and they planted those nuts, and those nuts are now big oak trees. And then we also on this occasion planted a tree that Betty carried from Colorado, and that tree is big and tall today, 25 years later.
Yes, because the other thing is the great appreciation for nature and for the earth. And I've loved that Arbonne's always been very, long before it was socially encouraged. We were socially responsible. We cared, and that's who Petter founded us to be, and he demonstrated it over and over again. And then just a variety of pictures that just showed expressions that if you knew Petter, you kind of knew some of those expressions. And then the one in the middle with the notes, remember how he would do the recognition?
Yeah, on his hand.
Yeah, and he was sorting things out there. But anyway, so tell us, what is the biggest lesson you think you learned from Petter?
Wow, there's I think so many things, Phoebe. But one of the things that I keep thinking about, when I think about what we have in, almost 40 years later. So he taught me to sort of dream big and dream, and think big. And I think the only limitation is in your head, and and I think that persistence and stubbornness and things like that he was really kind of one of a kind. And so I think really sort of just don't limit yourself. And because of that, he laid this very, very solid foundation. I think he had a huge vision for each of us. He could see the future, and that it was going to be very, very bright. So I think that's why, I mentioned this earlier. I think he wanted to he knew that, you know, one person could make a huge difference, and he already knew of sort of the power of, you know, direct selling and relationships. And he had, you know, I think his greatest joy was when he saw someone that sort of discovered something about themselves that they didn't know about, someone that sort of blossomed. He told me that that was his greatest joy, was to see someone kind of just become something that they, you know, that they didn't think they could become, and so that's changing people's lives, and for Arbonne to be the vehicle to be able to do that, create legacies and make a change, make a difference in the world.
So there's a lot of examples for us with Petter. I mean, how he focused on the person and their potential, and his joy came from that, and really knowing you and seeing you become more. So he once told me that Arbonne was his final quest besides his family. So what do you think would make him happiest about who we are as a company today?
I think, you know, that we're you know, I think you're an honest and authentic company. I think we're true in the spirit, you know, of what he saw us to be. You know, I think we have sort of realized his vision. I think we're a good company with good people. We make a difference. We've changed a lot of lives. People have just, it's amazing what Arbonne has done for people. So I think he would just be really content with really happy with sort of we were here and we're doing what we should be doing.
Awesome. So if you could imagine him here celebrating his birthday with us, what would he want most to say to all of the Arbonne consultants?
You know, you never knew what he was going to say, right? That was the thing.
Right.
So I was, you know, I thought about what would he say. I think he would just simply say, "Hooray!" You know, he would say something really, really spontaneous, whatever he felt like saying. He would say. But he was, you know, he would be celebrating. If it was his birthday, he would be celebrating with everybody, and he was, you know, I think he would just say hooray.
I think you're right. I think he would be thrilled with everything.
Hooray for everybody.
He valued the consultants so much, didn't he?
He did. He really did. He loved the consultant, and he loved all consultants, but the consultant, I think the district manager, the people that came to Arbonne and whose eyes were opened wide by the possibilities, I think intrigued him. I think that was like his mission in life.
I think
to come and get to those people, as many as he could. And he has done that really well through all of you out there.
He has. So in closing, if you had one word to describe your father, if you could share one word that you felt like kind of epitomized who he was and is, what would that be?
The one word, Phoebe, I thought about this. The one word is, I think, generous. You know, he was the most generous person that I know, not just with, you know, money, but with his time and with everything. He was just generous and he gave so much. And I thought, maybe that's why it became so good, because, you know, he was all about giving, you know, caring for others. You know, when you look at the culture of our company today, and you know how the field is so unified, how we have such amazing leadership in Arbonne, it's because we care for each other. I mean, sidelines, doesn't matter if someone's in the same business as you are, you know, on the same success line. People care about each other. They want the best for each other. It's like that golden rule, right?
Yeah.
So I think he gave so much of himself to others in so many different ways that I think that's the word, and I think that is coming back now many times.
I love that. I love that. You're absolutely right. Very, very generous. So, Stan, is there anything else you want to say to the consultants? I mean, you're the we're all carrying his legacy, but you're like our, you're carrying the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, I think I think that everyone in Arbonne, what I love about our company so much, and this is why I'm so excited that we're going to grow, we're going to go to new markets, is that every single consultant, every client, everyone in Arbonne, everyone that comes in touch with us one way or another, directly or indirectly, they have something unique and special to bring to Arbonne. Everyone in some one way or another enriches the company, and I think that's really special. So the bigger we get, the more diverse we become, we'll be more enriched. And I think that's sort of the beautiful thing about this. It's just going to get better and better. So I think that for me, that's why I love this business. It's constantly, it's grows on you every single day. I mean, I have to tell everyone, I have to tell you, Phoebe, and maybe we already talked about this, but I joined Arbonne in 1989 for some reasons, different reasons. One of the reasons was my dad said, "Hey, would you come and work for me?" And that was when they went back to Norway. And then I was with Arbonne for many years, and I enjoyed the journey and learned a lot about a lot of different things. But it wasn't until I came back to Arbonne 5 years ago, to in some ways a new company, but definitely the field was the same, you were the same, and that culture and that community that we have, it just it just was just so. I mean, I just realized what I've been missing for those few years I was gone. And so the reasons why I'm in Arbonne today is so different than they were when I first joined. And so I appreciate just sort of the, what we do as a company and what we are going to do. The things we haven't even scratched the surface. We're a big, like a movement that's just impacting so many different people's lives. And I just love it. So I get emotional thinking about that I'm able to be part of this community of Arbonne that my father started, almost 40 years ago is very humbling and it's just an amazing thing. And I'm just very grateful.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, because as I said before, you have made a huge difference, and we love and appreciate you, every single one of us. And if you were here, we'd all give you a big hug.
Thank you.
And just thank you for all you do, and thank you for giving us your time tonight. I think we're probably out of time, but I'll look real quick and see if there's a question. Oh, everyone is just saying amazing, and they're excited that they got another view of you and the Mørk family. So give your love to your mother and your brothers and your sister, and just let them know how much the Mørk family means to all of us. And happy birthday, Petter. And we will always love Petter.
Thank you, Phoebe, so much for asking me to be part of this.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And hopefully your boys will get better soon.
They will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you too, Phoebe. Bye.
Bye.